Okay, Mac, Friday night, it all went down in Miami. Louisville beats Miami 24-21. Now, we talked about this game all last week. We both thought Miami would win. I did take Louisville to cover because I love an underdog on the road on a Friday night. And I did pose the question before we get into what actually happened in this game that I thought it would actually be okay for the league if
Mhm.
Louisville wins this game.
You sure did say that.
And yeah, it's all my fault. I stand by it though, Mac. You now have four ACC teams ranked in the top 20. Georgia Tech at 7, Miami only drops to 9, Virginia at 16, Louisville now at 19. And if Louisville, the Louisville and Virginia game was crazy a couple weeks ago. So I think Miami's fine. They don't necessarily control their destiny to get to the ACC championship game, but I think a one-loss Miami, if they win out with their non-conference wins, Notre Dame continues to win, they should be fine. So I think we'll just start this conversation by saying Miami fans don't like it's not the end of the world. Now we do have some questions because this has kind of been your thing recently, right? Where you start off strong, you have really good September, kind of halfway through October, and then things start to fall apart. Where are you on the panic meter, Mac, with Miami?
Um, I'll tell you, not much.
Okay.
So, Aaron Murray and I do our little top 15 teams, and we only moved them to three. They went from one to three.
Wow.
So we think it was a really good team in Louisville. Like we think Louisville's good. Their only loss is to Virginia, where they
In
pretty much
overtime.
handled Virginia offensively. Like
Yeah.
their defense did a great job. There was just some fluky, weird things that happened there. So the Cards could easily be undefeated, right now and have two really massive wins. And then the second part of that is like Carson Beck just had his worst night. Like, and that stinks that you have that in front of everybody and you have it in that form or fashion. But I will say it was extremely concerning that Miami only rushed the ball for 63 yards
Correct.
and that Louisville, who hadn't been able to establish the run on anybody, Isaac Brown rushes for 113 yards himself. Those two things I would never, ever, never have thought would have happened. Just simply because what we've seen from Miami all year, who they've been. And the four picks and crazy turnovers, sure. Like it is what it is. I would have thought Miller Moss would have to throw for 350 plus to beat Miami. And that just wasn't the case. I think that I'm not sounding any alarms, but I am kind of like, how'd that happen?
Mm.
Why did that happen? It's so weird and bizarre. And quite frankly, Louisville dominated them, in every facet on, the lines of scrimmage there. Talking with Keem Mesidor and what we thought of the game, I thought they were going to get after their tail. And, on the defensive line, they really didn't. And that's a huge game plan by Louisville. So I know we're going to jump all over that game, but I don't think I'm as concerned as maybe some are. But certainly you have no margin of error anymore. Like it's all you have to win out. You have to win out for sure. And like you said, that you do not control your destiny to Charlotte.
Yeah, which is crazy because there's so many teams in the league and you just don't know who you play so many different teams. But okay, Mac, overall, like you said, I think Miami had its worst day. I mean, Carson Beck is not going to have another game like that where he throws
Right.
four picks. I don't think
He's
so.
never in his whole career. He's never had
Yeah,
that before. It's the first time it's ever
he's
happened.
never done that. There were a lot of just, it seems like miscommunications or just so many different things. And then in the end, Miami had every chance to go tie it up or win it. And then you have that pick at the end where apparently there was a miscommunication. Apparently the wrong route was run according to Carson Beck. So those are fixable things. I agree with what you're saying. The fact that Miami could not run the football is really concerning. 24 carries for 63 yards. Now, we mentioned this 2 weeks prior when Louisville played Virginia. Louisville was great against Virginia. Like Virginia's offense looked terrible. And Louisville's really good. So maybe we need to be giving this Louisville defense more credit. But I do think, and hopefully we can do this because we cover the ACC, we got to give Louisville credit here. Like, yes, Miami played terribly and they had issues, but Louisville was responsible for that. When Louisville comes out in the first drive, what they're doing, putting three quarterbacks on the field, like getting the ball out so quick, the game plan was so good because this D line's full of monsters. They didn't really give the D line a chance to do anything. They got the ball out quickly. Miller Moss made good decisions. And then welcome back Isaac Brown. We've been waiting for this, Mac. We've been waiting for it. He emerges in the fourth quarter against Virginia And then finally, he looks like the guy he was last year, where he had 1,000 yards. I mean, Isaac Brown was fantastic. So I think we got to give Louisville a lot of credit.
No, we 100% do, and you're right. That's the reason Miami looked bad was because Louisville made them look bad. Louisville put them in adverse situations, bad spots, and ultimately, like I said, dominated them and just made them look, not capable, which is shocking to say the least. Just because of what we've seen from them and how we saw them. Look against many teams, a couple of ranked teams, three ranked teams. And so, I think at the end of the day, the attack that you just mentioned was very impressive. The game plan, very impressive. And there's a couple of key points, just the quick passes, like the crossing routes and quick passes were tremendous. When Miami's going man to man, we're finding Chris Bell. We're sending him on over routes. We're getting him in front of the quarterback, getting him the ball, let him get out in space. He was tremendous. It was really fun to see that young man, take advantage. And it felt like, KG, everybody in the stadium knew the
Yeah,
ball's going to zero and Miami couldn't stop it. I mean, he was so electric, and it wasn't even like it was just long bombs. I mean, he was just getting the ball and had, I think, 92 yards of yards after the catch. And so, really impressive to see just how he did that, what he was able to do. Miller Moss getting him the ball, Miller Moss adjusting the offense. Like there was one play in particular, and it's comic for us because we have hindsight, and I literally phrased the question to the young man when we spoke to him earlier in the week. And I said, when 3 and 4 are on the same side, what does that mean for the offense? And he didn't really go into anything. I went into it more saying that's a problem. That's an issue. Well, Louisville said, oh, 3 and 4 are on this side. We're going to run it this way. We're going to go
absolutely.
away from them. And that was a check. That was all Miller. Like it was built in. He had that ability. It was like 3rd and 12, 3rd and 10. They line up the monsters to the left. He says, hey, ready, we're going to the right. Hands it off to Isaac Brown, gets an 18-yard gain. I mean, it was sick to see that, like really smart, cerebral play. And you saw that a bunch. There was a bunch of different things like that. Miami check, we check, you check. It was a chess match back and forth. And it was fun to watch that. And Coach Brahms just, I mean, he is the definition of consistency. I mean, this dude just wins, he executes, he puts out, it doesn't matter who's on the team, how many years the quarterback's been there, hadn't, he just finds a way. And he has a level of expectation too that I love. Like he puts a lot on his quarterbacks. And I've never been in a meeting, and I would love to one day just to hear it because I'm sure it's very high level, very, detail oriented. But there was something that happened where it just was a bad play, a poorly executed play. Let me rephrase that. And Miller's coming over the sideline, and Brahm's like going crazy. And he's saying, what the F are you doing? Like, blah, blah, all these things. And I'm like, that is so intense because he knows like every little detail matters. If you want to beat the number 2 team in the country, everything matters. And then to see Miller respond, not just go pout and sit on the end of the bench, like respond, go in and score a touchdown. I mean, it's really big level stuff. I think looking at the defense, and I'll get out of the way here, we knew that they had the stats, like numbers wise, they'd done well. I mean, they were the number 1 defense in the ACC coming into this. We just thought it was juiced up because of who they played. Bad news. It ain't juiced up. They're like that. And they looked really, really good, very physical on the line of scrimmage, but also in the second and third level. I was impressed. I mean, I couldn't be more impressed with what I saw from Louisville, how they won that game. And I am so pumped up, KG, that the huddle is headed there. First time ever, 7 years, we're coming. I cannot wait to see the cards. It's going to be so much fun.
First time in like the history of the network.
Ever.
Wow.
Forever. It's
From
my
a
last weight room I get to go to. It's like the last Infinity Stone, and I've got them all.
last Infinity Stone. That's amazing. It's funny to see that you say that because for me on the women's basketball side, I live in Louisville during
Wouldn't you?
basketball
Of course.
season. It's a great city, great town. And I'm, like you said, excited for you guys to go there, and the fan base, I'm sure, is gonna be juiced up. But Mac, I mean, you hit it all on the head. I agree. The other thing that I mentioned briefly at the end of our preview episode, I was a little worried about the crowd. I just thought, okay, Friday, 7 o'clock, You're in a major metropolis. Like, are people going to be able to get there? The crowd didn't feel as juiced, at least from TV, for what we saw. And when Louisville goes and scores on, they get up 14-0, you're like, oh. And then Miami's on their heels. They don't really have that crowd behind them, it felt like at times. And I almost felt like too, Mac, okay, they were both coming off bye weeks. The bye week helped Louisville because you had to get healthy, number one, and you're coming off a heartbreaking loss. You can go back, reassess. And obviously Jeff Brohm used all two of those, the whole week plus the next week to really put things in for this game. It's almost like Miami had all the momentum in the world, and then the bye week hit, and they almost relaxed a little bit. And Miami just looked a little bit too relaxed, Mac, and Louisville had such urgency. Jeff Brohm, whatever he makes, I don't know what his salary is. You know how coaches' salaries have been a hot button topic for me lately, Mac? He earned it. Like, he had every wrinkle in there, the three quarterbacks, the different things they were running. He didn't say, okay, we're just going to do our normal stuff and hope to win. He had so many different things ready. He's just a wizard. Like, you look at Jeff Brohm and what he's able to do against top teams. If you give him that extra week to prepare, we probably should have put more stock in that.
Right.
For Jeff Brohm having an extra week to get his team ready.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, I think the other interesting piece of that, having that much time, what we heard from Miller and from, Coach Brohm, I believe after the game, was that they really challenged their offensive line like these 2 weeks, because I had said it and have said it for a couple of weeks now. They are not playing to the standard that the Louisville fans, Louisville coaches, Louisville whatever, past players expect from that unit. Like that's typically a unit of strength. And they just hadn't been up until to this point where they were. And for them to go against that Miami front, to run the ball the way they did, to protect the way that they did, you got to give them credit because they played very, very well. And like you said, Coach Brohm to dial it up the way he did. And for those guys just not to flinch. And see, that's the interesting thing too. Not that Louisville is some massive dog. I mean, it's just, they're a great team. Has been consistent as anybody since Brohm has been in the league. I mean, you saw that graphic time and time again on the game broadcast. One of the few, stats and graphics that were correct. There was a lot of errors there. I will say that. Coach Brohm has the most wins of any coach in the ACC. ACC wins since he's been there, more than Mario Cristobal. Right? What's that?
I think since 2023. So since
he got there, more than Dabo Swinney, more than Mario Cristobal, more than anybody. And so that's just what they do. They win games. But the interesting piece is, what's next, Louisville? Like, can you take that step? Can you not lose in overtime to Virginia? Can you knock down the door? Is that getting to Charlotte and winning in Charlotte? So we'll see. Like I said, I'm excited to be there. I can't wait to see it in person. Can't wait to see that facility, all these different things.
Well, and we've seen Louisville also struggle down the stretch, even under Brohm. Last year, the Stanford loss. Year before, when they lose late and they stumble. That's a big challenge for Louisville. I'm not too worried for them this coming week against Boston College, where they're already 23.5 point favorite. They should be favored in every remaining game, Mac. Like, I think, unless SMU continues to win, maybe at SMU, maybe they're not favored. Clemson at home, Cal at home, Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech, and then, of course, Kentucky, even though Texas made Kentucky look pretty good. All right, so we give our congrats to Louisville. I also think Miami's going to be fine. They obviously need to figure some things out. And I low-key think it's good for the league, Mac.